Good morning, you brave souls. You guys all get an A. Good morning. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. My name is Sue Ann Farnlocker. My pronouns are she, her, they, and I'm happy to serve on the Board of Trustees. I'm fairly tall, used to be taller, white, 75-year-old woman with glasses and reddish hair. Our speakers provide visual descriptions to welcome people with visual impairments and those listening from home. Thank you for joining us this morning. Please take a moment. Please silence your cell phone. And you can scan the QR code there, here, or view the order of worship and to let us know you're here. First-time visitors are invited to pick up a first-time gift at the welcome table out in the gallery and look for the Getting to Know You sign in Beach Hall after the service to learn more about us. Whether you are brand new here, or you got to pet Thistle, the kitty, the little black part Siamese church cat who called this home his home, Thistle. Everyone is welcome to come chat with me or another board member after the service. There's a lot happening here. Our 2025 auction is underway. Online bidding for excellent stuff started yesterday and will continue until midnight this Friday, the 21st. This will be followed by a week of online bidding for meals, services, excursions, etc. That will continue through midnight Friday, the 28th. The accumulation of 2 weeks of online bidding will be our live auction and celebration from 6 to 9 p.m. on Saturday, March 1st. This will be a fun evening with a delicious catered meal, but if you don't buy your ticket today, you won't get counted and you won't have a meal that night. So please register online or at the auction table. I think you can get them there. They'll be in Beach Hall selling tickets. And let's see, you can buy them online till midnight. We hope to see you at this sparkling event. Today, I already said that. Join our anti-racist allies for authentic Mexican food today at Taqueria Guadalajara. Meet in the gallery at 12:30 to carpool or meet us there. The Covenantal Relations team is hosting Beyond Small Talk. Join us in Slaughter Lounge after the service each Sunday for a listening circle designed to help process feelings in these complicated times. And Ohio Feed and Read needs rice, beans, peanut butter, canned proteins, coloring books, chocolate. Drop off green bags full of donations in Beach Hall Sunday mornings or leave them in the coat room throughout the week. For all these announcements and more, see your order of worship or this Friday news email. Head to our website to subscribe. Now, please rise in body and spirit to sing We Give Thanks, hymn number 1010 in the Teal hymnal.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Teresa Cooley. I serve as your developmental minister. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a woman in her early 60s with silver hair and a purple stole and a maroon sweater. And I'm very happy to see you all. As Sue said, you do get an A, and I'm so grateful that we have this technology that allows people to be home in their pajamas and slippers, and I'm very envious. We gathered today on the stolen land of the Wyandot, Miami, Seneca, Erie, Shawnee, Delaware, and Cayuga people, many of whom were forcibly removed. We support the Native American Indian Center of Central Ohio in their Land Back campaign, and we know that we have more to do to be in true relationship with this land and those indigenous to it.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Kelly McNeil. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve as your minister of congregational life. I am a white woman in her mid-30s with long dark hair and clear glasses, and I am wearing a blue dress with flowers on it. Now let us enter into the spirit of worship with these words from Gretchen Haley. What our faith asks of us, what our faith imagines for us, is that somehow, right at that moment when our hearts break, we will find our way to see through that heartbreak. We will stay put, not close off, not run away, not hurt back, but keep on being in relationship, doing what we can to repair the world and each other. In this hope and for this purpose, we gather for worship this morning. It is now time for any children to meet Gus back in the sanctuary to prepare to bring in the light. Everyone else, please turn to your neighbors and introduce yourselves.
You saw that Barbara's the pastoral listener today.
Oh, okay.
It is now time for the children to bring in the light. We light our chalice with these words from Marge Kipe. As surely as we belong to the universe, we belong together. We join here to transcend the isolated self, to reconnect, to know ourselves to be at home, here on earth, under the stars, linked with each other. We light our chalice to affirm and celebrate this bond.
Thank you, Juniper and Sage, for lighting our chalice. I'm Deb Balliol. I am, what am I? I am a white woman, 75, short brown hair, with a lovely, heavy, not too heavy, but really warm sweater on, teal with a lovely Peruvian pattern on it. I'm going to read the story this morning. I wondered if any of you people out there, all of you, not just the kids, like to doodle or draw or paint. Anybody? Yeah. Well, me too. I love shapes and colors and textures. Let's see what happens in this story to Mira. This story is called Maybe Something Beautiful, How Art Transformed a Neighborhood. And it is written by F. Isabel Campoy and Teresa Howell, and it's illustrated by Rafael Lopez, who at the end you will find is key in this story. Oh, and I didn't mention the announcement because I didn't read the paper. Due to this holiday weekend, there are no children's classes today, but infant and toddler care is available in room 101. Families are invited to grab a busy bag from out in the gallery and explore the quiet activities in our We Worship area, or check out Sloter Lounge if you need more room to move. If you need a break from the service, children accompanied by an adult are welcome to use games and crafts in the rooms near the kitchen. So let's start this story. It's a true story about the Urban Art Trail in San Diego, California. In the heart of a gray city, there lived a girl who loved to doodle, draw, color, and paint. Every time she saw a blank piece of paper, Mira thought to herself, maybe. And because of this, her room was filled with colors, and her heart was filled with joy. On her way to school one day, Mira gave a round apple to Mr. Henry, the owner of the shop down the street. She gave a flower to Ms. Lopez, the lady with the sparkling eyes. She gave a songbird to Mr. Sachs and a red heart to the policeman who walked up and down the streets. On her way home, Mira taped a glowing big sun onto the wall, hiding in the shadows. Her city was less gray, but not much. The next day, Mira saw a man with a pocket full of paintbrushes. He gazed at the wall. He looked at her son. He held his finger up square and peered through them. He said. What do you see? Said Mira. Maybe something beautiful, said the man. Then, just like that, he dipped his brush into the paint. Bam! Pow! The shadows scurried away. The blue sky cut through the gloom. The man's laughter was like a rainbow spreading across the sky. Who are you? Said Mira. I'm an artist, he said, a muralist. I paint on walls. I'm an artist too, she said, and he handed Mira a paintbrush. Then, come on. Mira dipped into the loudest color she saw, and yowee, the wall lit up like sunshine. As the man drew pictures on the bricks, Mira added color and punch and pizzazz, and soon Mr. Sachs joined in. Then came some others. Everyone painted to the rhythm of salsa and merengue and bebop. Even Mira's mama painted and danced the cha-cha-cha. The whole neighborhood became a giant block party until the policeman walked up. "Excuse me," he said, and the music stopped. That's my place. Mira put her brush down. They were surely in trouble. The officer cleared his throat. "May I paint too?" he asked. Mira handed him a paintbrush. And the music started again. Teachers and papas jumped in, and babies too. Mira and the man handed out brush after brush, and color spread throughout the streets. So did the joy. Wherever Mira and the man went, art followed like a string of a kite. After they colored the walls, they painted the utility boxes and the benches. They decorated sidewalks with poetry and sunshine, and everybody danced together. They created something more beautiful than they ever imagined. When their clothes were spattered with millions of colors, everybody sat down to rest. Except the muralist. His eyes sparkled. "You, my friends, are the artists. The world is your canvas." He smiled wide. He pulled everything together in a big sweeping motions, and his paintbrush was like a magic wand. When he finished, Mira added one more bird. Way up in the sky. Maybe, she thought, just maybe. The end. Mira joined her friends and neighbors to bring color and joy to her world. This is a true story about San Diego. The Lopezes who illustrated this book were moved into their new house and found the neighborhood to be very plain. No color portraits, murals, or quotes, or even graffiti. They invited the neighbors and the police and the children and the unhoused friends and the workers to enliven the neighborhood with drawings and sayings and cans of paint, just like Mira and her neighborhood. Their murals not only brought beauty to the walls and the streets, but also transformed the minds and hearts of all who lived there. Just like here, we're all better together. And now, please remain seated with your hands over your heart as we sing Go Lift It Up, number 1057, and we'll sing our children back to their families and out to the class.
Go lift it up, love bless your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day.
Our Share the Plate recipient for this month is the People's Justice Project, or PJP, which was founded in 2014, and it builds the power of Black and brown people disproportionately impacted by state violence, mass criminalization, and incarceration by centering community organizing and leadership development. People's Justice Project has supported the families of Casey Goodson Jr., Andre Hill, and Makia Bryant, and many others killed by local police as part of their work for change. First UU has partnered with PJP in multiple ways since 2016, from providing meeting space to showing up to actions and doing research on Columbus policing. We hope to continue and strengthen our relationship. In addition to passing the basket, you can text to give, scan the QR code, or visit firstucolumbus.org/donate. Thank you for your generosity. Today's pastoral listener is Barb Fiorini. If you have something on your mind or heart today, Barb will be in Beach Hall after the service and will be happy to listen. We have some joys and sorrows from our community to share with you this morning, and there are 2 caring cards to sign in Beach Hall after worship. We wish a speedy recovery to Chris Sullivan, who is at home recovering from her recent surgery on her foot. And we send our love and care to Alice Rathburn. Ron Rathburn passed away on Wednesday, February 12th, after having been in palliative care for 2 days. His children, Jill, Eric, and Susan, were all in town to be near him. At the time of his passing, Alice and Susan were at his side. We send our love and our care. I invite you now into a time of meditation and prayer with these words from Thich Nhat Hanh. No death, no fear. This body is not me. I am not caught in this body. I am life without boundaries. I have never been born, and I have never died. Over there, the wide ocean and the sky with many galaxies all manifest from the basis of consciousness. Since beginningless time, I have always been free. Birth and death are only a door through which we go in and out. birth and death are only a game of hide and seek. So smile to me and take my hand and wave goodbye. Tomorrow we shall meet again, or even before. We shall always be meeting again at the true source, always meeting again on the myriad paths of life.
Must be
As much as I love it when the sanctuary is full, this feels like a nice little intimate circle, doesn't it? It's really nice. Our reading today is from Annie Murphy Paul, from her book called The Extended Mind. Our culture insists that the brain is the sole locus of thinking, a cordoned off space where cognition happens, much as the workings of my laptop are sealed inside an aluminum case. But what if our faith is misplaced? What if the directive to use your head, ubiquitous though it may be, is misguided? A burgeoning body of research suggests that we've got it exactly backward. As it is, we use our brains entirely too much, to the detriment of our ability to think intelligently. What we need to do is think outside the brain. Thinking outside the brain means skillfully engaging entities external to our heads, the feelings and movements of our bodies, the physical spaces in which we learn and work, the minds of other people around us, drawing them into our own mental processes. By reaching beyond the brain to recruit these extraneural resources, we're able to focus more intently, comprehend more deeply, and create more imaginatively, to entertain ideas that would be literally unthinkable by the brain alone. It's true that we are more accustomed to thinking about our bodies, our spaces, and our relationships, but we can also think with and through them. By using the movements of our hands to understand and express abstract concepts, for example, or by arranging our workspace in ways that promote idea generation, or by engaging in social practices like teaching and storytelling that lead to deeper understanding and more accurate memory. Rather than exhorting ourselves and others to use our heads, we should be applying extraneural resources to the project of thinking outside our skull's narrow circumference. As long as we settle for thinking inside the brain, we'll remain bound by the limits of that organ. But when we reach outside of it with intention and skill, our thinking can be transformed. It can become as dynamic as our bodies, as airy as our spaces, as rich as our relationships, as capacious as the whole wide world. Please remain seated as we join in our meditative song, number 1013. There are many things that can be said about Facebook, for good or for ill, but sometimes it offers up the humor that you need in the perfect moment. Most recently, I saw this posting that is a riff off of the Serenity Prayer. Someone I don't know, called Ivan Coyote, said, "I have officially run out of enough serenity to accept the things I cannot change. There's simply not enough blankety blank serenity to go around. Maybe it's a supply chain thing, I don't know." And I am so with you, Ivan Coyote. Everyone I know seems to have hit the wall this month, feeling depleted and enervated and darn near hopeless. And I'm here today to give you full permission to feel that way. The last thing you need me to tell you is to buck up and get over it. You get to feel the way that you feel. But something that actually did make me feel better, I just realized I'm reading the wrong sermon. There you go. Let's start this over again. Because I really do rewrite my sermons. So, I have adopted a new strategy in these times. I'm trying to read things that are not necessarily from my usual sources, not extreme conservatives, but middle-of-the-road folks. I believe that one of the consequences of social media is that we get further and further coddled into our own cocoons of sameness. And it's reassuring to know that others think the way that we do. But how do we really learn? I'm trying to figure out how we got into the mess that we are in now, which means taking a step back from the current insanity and looking at its root causes. One of those middle-of-the-road sources for me is David Brooks, the New York Times columnist who's a self-described conservative, but he always makes me think. He wrote a recent piece for The Atlantic called "How the Ivy League Broke America. The meritocracy isn't working. We need something new." Now, I admit to getting tired of this constant anti-intellectual bashing, but since Brooks himself is a product of the Ivy League, I thought I would give it a try. And I found myself in complete agreement with him. He traverses the history of our highest educational institutions, which went from hereditary aristocracy to so-called intellectual meritocracy. The idea being that if you admit people who score the highest on tests, no matter their background, you get the best of the best. The problem with this philosophy, of course, is that being good at taking tests is only one measure of a person, which doesn't encapsulate everything that leads to success. So we've created this system which forces teachers to forego teaching in favor of administering tests, which takes children away from creative play and frog marches them through achievement after achievement. Lucrative jobs go only to those who reach the pinnacle of this intellectual achievement, which means that many people who are amazing leaders get left behind. So Brooks said this: "The bottom line is that if you give somebody a standardized test when they're 13 or 18, you will learn something important about them, but not necessarily whether they will flourish in life, not necessarily whether they will contribute usefully to society's greater good. Intelligence is not the same thing as effectiveness." The cognitive psychologist Keith Stanovich coined the term dysrationalia, in part to describe the phenomenon of smart people making dumb or irrational decisions. Being smart doesn't mean that you're willing to try alternative viewpoints, or that you're comfortable with uncertainty, or that you can recognize your own mistakes. It doesn't mean you have insight into your own biases. In fact, one thing that high IQ people might genuinely be better at than other people is convincing themselves that their own false views are true. This kind of educational system focuses almost exclusively on the concept of learning as something you do with concentrated solo effort. And there certainly have been wonderful programs like SYC that have supported these many years that we have supported these many years that promote social and emotional learning. But unfortunately, they are all too rare and don't reach into broadly diverse communities. You can see I'm on a bit of a rant right now about the failings of our educational system. And I agree with Brooks that it has contributed to our current challenges. And so I was thrilled to discover another book that talks about the mind and learning in an entirely different way, The Extended Mind, that I quoted from in our reading. And it made my brain explode with dozens of new ways of thinking about just that, thinking. But delving into this book also gave me a new kind of insight into any number of other things by making it clear that creative thinking takes place within and beyond our skulls. Murphy presents evidence that should transform the way that we understand and engage in education, or workplace interactions, or in our relationships. The classical understanding of thinking is that it happens when we are quiet and still and exercising what we used to think of as the muscle of the brain. But in fact, for most people, moving makes the brain work better. It's not that sitting still and cogitating is bad or ineffective, but it's just that not everyone learns well that way. And if the evidence in this book is to be believed, most people don't learn well this way. And yet we still impose it on students the majority of the time. It also turns out that passively listening to someone speaking at you is the least effective way to learn, which says something about this thing called preaching. But I'll go to that later. Murphy uses the analogy of the brain as a magpie, not as an isolated muscle. She tells of how a kind of magpie literally once shut down a large swath of Seoul, South Korea. Magpies make their nests out of whatever materials are at hand, and when they are in dense urban areas without natural things, they will use electrical wires, metal cloth hangers, antennas, and the like. And because these things conduct electricity, they can disrupt the entire electrical system of a major city. Similarly, the brain needs things outside of itself to think. The most creative and useful thinking happens by tapping into the wisdom of our bodies, engaging in embodied conversation, experiencing new environments, exercising, finding ourselves in sync with others. Without these natural extensions, the brain atrophies. And collectively, without all of us being able to engage in this kind of creativity, a society can find itself short-circuited. It explains why the pandemic had such a traumatic effect on children's education. Being stuck at a computer trying to learn from a disembodied voice is the least effective method imaginable. Our story for all ages is just the kind of creative magpie way of being and learning that expands our understanding rather than stultifying it. It's hard to let go of our accustomed view of the mind being this individual static thing and the fantasy that we are in complete control of our brains. As the comedian Emo Phillips said, "I used to think that the brain was the most wonderful organ in my body. And then I realized who was telling me this." Takes a minute. I have been fascinated by the insights of brain science for years. Another book that was similarly revelatory for me was An Alchemy of the Mind by Diane Ackerman. One of the insights that she had stood out for me, and she was talking about what we usually think of as rationality. We like to think that we're constantly and consciously making deliberate choices as we move through the world. But in fact, living requires doing most things simply by instinct. And what we like to call rationality is often finding ways to rationalize what we actually just did. I know this from observing my own learning style. A decade or so ago, I decided to take up photography. So I got lots of books, lots of expensive equipment. Sorry, this cold is getting to me. And so I sat down with all of this equipment and these books to learn photography. And after a few hours of feeling like I wasn't taking anything in, I gave up and signed up for an adult ed course on photography, which combined hands-on training with field trips, critiques of classmates' work, and suddenly I began to get it. Years of sitting quietly reading instruction manuals would never have gotten me to that place. So part of what makes me so interested in things like this is that it helps us find ways of addressing the huge inequities in the world. If we continue to believe that we are totally and only in control of our brain by concentrated thinking, then that naturally leads us to the idea that some people are better at thinking than others. A story to illustrate this point: a computer scientist named Sugatra Mitra was employed by the educational system of India to try to figure out how to use technology to deliver education to large swaths of the country that did not have access to traditional education. In the beginning, he thought his efforts would fail because he didn't believe that there was any substitute for in-person teaching and learning. But he did an experiment in which he set up a computer terminal in a tiny village in which hardly anyone had any formal education, and the predominant language was Tamil. He set up this computer and gathered all the children in the village together, and he said, "I want you to learn everything you can about biotechnology just by using this computer." And then he left. So he came back 2 weeks later and asked them what they had learned. "Nothing," they said. "Nothing? How often did you look at it and play with it?" "Every day," they said. "And you still learn nothing?" And one little girl piped up and said, "Except for the fact that the improper replication of the DNA molecule that causes genetic disease, we learned nothing." So clearly, having equal access to information, even information that may seem completely out of context or unfamiliar, simulates a new kind of thinking and challenges our assumptions about what intelligence really is. Confronting some of the stultifying myths of education helps release a new kind of creativity. The Sufi poet Hafiz put it this way: "We have a duty to befriend those aspects of obedience that stand outside of our house and shout to our reason, 'Oh please, come out and play.'" Understanding thinking in this way also breaks us out of myths of supreme individualism. We need one another to learn and to think and to grow effectively and to create. And we need a diversity of others to grow into our best selves. In her poem about the great African-American singer Paul Robeson, Gwendolyn Brooks wrote this: "That time we all heard it, cool and clear, cutting across the hot grit of the day, the major voice, the adult voice, foregoing rolling river, foregoing tearful tale of bale and barge and other symptoms of an old despond, warning in music words, devout and large, that we are each other's harvest, we are each other's business, and we are each other's magnitude and bond." Which brings me to the religious implications found in this new way of thinking about thinking. In some ways, it's what we as Unitarian Universalists have always said about religion. Sacred and traditional sources can be inspirational, but we affirm that the deepest wisdom comes from within and between us, not just from experts telling us what to believe. We've long affirmed the interconnected web of all existence of which we are a part. We believe in striving toward equity for all. We recognize that we need one another to reinforce what is good. Back in the 1920s, Unitarian minister A. Powell Davies said, "Let me tell you why I come to church. I come to church because I fall below my own standards and need to be constantly brought back to them. I'm afraid of becoming selfish and indulgent, and my church brings me back to what I want to be." The root meaning of the word religion harks back to Latin elements, which mean to bind together. The religious enterprise is not something that can actually happen alone. You may be able to be spiritual by yourself, but religion is something that happens in community, past, present, and future. If we're ever to break through the divisions that have rocked our world of late, we need to find ways to encourage a different way of thinking and learning, an engaged and creative, interconnected group mind that will lead us to a new way of being. So may it be. Let us join in our final hymn, number 1008. Please take the hand of someone close to you or place your hand on your heart. Our benediction comes from the poet E.E. Cummings. May my heart always be open to little birds who are the secrets of living. Whatever they sing is better than to know. And if men should not hear them, then men are old. May my mind stroll about hungry and fearless and thirsty and supple. And even if it's Sunday, may I be wrong. For whenever men are right, they are not young. And may myself do nothing usefully and love yourself so more than truly. There's never been quite such a fool who could fail pulling all the sky over him with one smile. Amen. Go in peace. Oh, sorry. Let's do our chalice.
Nope.
We extinguish this flame,
But not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and the world through reason and love. For the blessing is complete, and the Spirit's graceful power bring the good that yet shall be. Light the path before us lies. Joyful pilgrims now we rise. Life calls us on. Life calls us on. Well,